And we are live.
Huzzah!
Huzzah! Indeed.
A day late and a dollar short, but we're here.
Let me get the chat popped out here so I can get our stuff in the stream if somebody wants to comment on something. How are you, Trey?
I'm doing pretty good. I'm a little laggy from a busy day yesterday, but overall I'm doing pretty good.
Cool. I know we just talked about it, but yesterday was your first Father's Day.
Very first, the inaugural Father's Day. Yeah, it was quite interesting. Especially when what doesn't get talked about, I think, is like your very first Father's Day ever, regardless of when it was, your child is still not a year old. So you have a small baby as the reason you are being celebrated on this day. And you're holding them and you're loving them and you're having such a good time. But then you look at them and you're like, you have no idea why today even matters. Like you're just this little blob of a human being, and you don't know why it's a special day today. and you'll never really know until you get older.
Yeah, it was. I mean, the same with me because Nona May was born in June, and then like a couple weeks later, it was Father's Day, and I was like,
so she was like just a few weeks old.
Yeah. We were. I think we might have actually been. I remember when she was a few weeks old. We, as crazy, insane parents, my mom invited us down to the beach for.
And you were like, "Let's take a 3-week-old."
Basically, and we did. It was fun. She had like, as I'm sure you've experienced, the like explosive tar poops babies have, and
those ones that aren't really anything yet.
Yeah, well, I've got a picture somewhere. I'm not going to pull up here, but
of course you do.
I was changing her diaper on the hotel couch, and she projectile poop, and it shot all up my shirt, went over my shoulder, almost hit me in the face, and then hit the wall behind me.
Oh my god!
Yeah, it was a special moment. But yeah, so first Father's Day. She's just a few weeks old, and I'm like, this is the best day ever.
About to say, you will always remember that, man.
Yeah. All right. Yeah. Well, we'll go ahead and get started. So yesterday we didn't have the podcast on YouTube. But if you're on Spotify, probably you're going to try to get it out today.
Yeah, right after we get done with this, I'm going to sit down, edit it, because we're not making like an NPC or anything like that, so I'll be able to listen through, do the editing, and chunk it out to Spotify. Okay,
so Spotify folks won't miss anything.
No, they won't miss anything.
Yeah, but we'll go ahead and get started. Today on your favorite tabletop RPG podcast, we're going to talk about the class Monk.
Yeah.
And I am
Tony Shalhoub for 1 hour.
Oh. So you're talking about the TV show Monk?
Yes. Work a Tony Shalhoub joke in there just once, and we can move on.
Okay. Well, I gotta get a better rhythm of doing a proper intro.
We'll get it. We'll hammer it out.
Yeah. Welcome to Favorite Terrain, your new favorite tabletop RPG podcast. I'm Travis, and Trey's chugging a Coke Zero, it looks like.
Yeah, here we are.
And we are Two Beards Play. So you and your ears are part of a little podcast that we've started as two DMs who I feel have years of DMing experience under our belts and love tabletop RPGs and would love to share whatever little knowledge we have with anybody who wants to listen or is interested in possibly running D&D or another tabletop RPG. We got a little bit of wisdom, and we're just going to send it your way through this podcast and YouTube and wherever else you're listening to it.
Oh, yeah. And it's weird because you were like, we have years of DMing experience. And I'm like, no, we Yeah, we do. Yeah, we do. Because it doesn't feel like we've been doing it that long. But I think about it now, and I'm like, I moved here, and we really became friends like 8 years ago.
Yeah, like we've been running table scraps for years.
For
Like
years and years.
like more than one. And
Yes.
it just seems like that's something we started last year or something. Like,
You remember when we had the 5-year anniversary of Two Beards creep up on us, and we were like, "Oh my god!"
yeah.
Like we've been doing it for 5 years, and we're still doing it, which is crazy to think about, but pretty
Yeah.
good.
We got about 100 subscribers for each year.
Yeah, that's about where we're at, and we're coming up on it because we're at 561 from what I'm seeing.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I'll take it.
So we're reaching some people. What was that noise? Sorry, my computer made a noise.
Oh, okay. I was going to say, I just took a swallow of sweet tea. I don't know if you could hear that.
No, I got like a chime, a ding. Someone's messaging me something.
Gotcha. Well, we are Two Beards Play, and we're happy you're here. If you're listening live,
Oh, hold on. I hate to interrupt you, but I got a message from a buddy of mine that's showing me his phone capture where he's trying to communicate and chat, and it's not showing up on our end. So, Cody, I do not see your chats, buddy. So, I'm not sure. You might want to just message me on Facebook like you're doing, and then I'll make sure to chime in for your stuff right there. But yeah, Cody Nimrod said, "Time to punchy punch. Is my chats showing up?" So yeah, he's commenting on the fact that we're talking about the monk. Yeah, sorry. Just wanted to throw that out there because I'm like, oh no, I don't want anyone to not be involved if they want to be involved.
Correct. Yeah. Yeah, I'm not sure why that's not working.
Yeah.
I'm going to pull it up here. While I'm doing that,
Technical difficulties.
Yeah. While I'm doing that, Trey, if you want to get us started on the monk. Oh, I see your chat. Huzzah.
Yeah, see, that's me.
Okay. Well, I'm just...
It is working.
Yeah.
Anyway. But yeah, we spun the wheel of topics last week and we landed on monk, which is a class which I'm liking the diversity of topics that we've got going on the wheel. Even though this is like second class we've done in a row and third class overall, but monk is one of those things from D&D that's been around for a hot minute, but not like old school stuff. Monks, I think, first got introduced, if I'm remembering correctly, and I don't claim to be a wizard on this, like Wizards of the Coast, not a sponsor, but they should be. I think monks popped in around third edition or 3.5, somewhere in there, and it's always been one of those classes where people are kind of on the fence about it. It's either we kind of mentioned it in our off-camera chat, or maybe it was at the end of last week's episode, where I've met people where if you bring up monks and you're talking about D&D and they're dungeon masters, they're either, yeah, I love monks, doesn't bother me at all, or they're like, they're not allowed at my table. Like, I've never met someone that's just like, meh, about a monk, you know?
Yeah.
And I'm not really sure why that is, because I guess I fall into the category of dungeon master where I'm like, yeah, I like monks.
No, I do too. I've never had a issue with them. Now I can understand, because I've ran monks, like had monks in my party, and they can get very powerful as far as combat wise.
Oh yeah.
And I think maybe in previous editions, 3.5 and Pathfinder as well, they may be a little bit more powerful than what you find.
A little bit more powerful in Pathfinder because they scaled towards the epicness of tabletop RPGs.
Yeah, and I can't speak to much of the abilities in that version, but I will say. And I'm going to be honest, because I was kind of thinking about monks and this episode coming up, and I was like, we can go through all the classes, all the ways of, your monastery style or whatever, which we will. Yeah. We'll talk about all that. But I'm really more interested in talking about what it's like to build, do some world building for your character, or if somebody's running a monk in your game, running a monk,
Yeah.
making that fun for them. Anyway, I think lucky enough to have somebody in one of my previous games who was a monk, and I was just like, go crazy as far as like what your order is about, and getting towards the end of the game when they were like really high level, because we got them up to level 20. The dude was he had his own monastery. Like,
Did he go straight monk for 20 levels?
yeah.
He didn't multi-class. Wow. Okay, first of all, kudos to that gentleman. That is hard to do.
Yeah. But anyway, so we'll talk about some world building and ways to make monks really fun outside of, what they come with.
Cody says monks are great in concept, but I feel they need a revamp just like the ranger did. I mean, possibly. I mean, it's one thing we've learned about just D&D as a hobby or a game or a pastime or whatever you want to call it as a whole, is that we're constantly learning about ways to change it or make it slightly better. Sometimes those are good changes, sometimes they're not, and then you have to make 5th edition because no one liked 4th edition, and you just kind of have to go from there. But like I said, I have not looked at monk stuff in a long time because I don't think I've ever actually made a monk or played one. Like, seriously, I think I might have made like an NPC monk one time. Um, and when I make like real NPCs that are going to be a part of the story, I like to give them levels and make them helpful, not just give them random little NPC stats. Cody says we don't speak about 4th ed. It's the dark times. It's like when Travis worked for another company and had to shave his beard.
No, we don't talk about that.
Exactly. So I guess we'll move on.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. So monks are a martial class. So they are, they're there to deal damage. And what makes monks, I guess, separates them from any other martial class is that, they want to punch stuff. And if you think of monk, a lot of imagery that comes to mind, I mean, it really applies there. There's a physical aspect to monks that is, punching and kicking and dodging and stuff like that. But there's also a spiritual aspect to them as well. And how, let's see, like, we did rangers. So like how rangers had different archetypes. So do monks. And I guess the best way to describe it is called the way, because in the description it just says way of mercy, way of shadow, way of ascendant dragon. And there's a lot. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 11, 12.
Golly, because I'm like, this is another reason why I love doing the show, is that we kind of keep ourselves updated on things, because I remember monks when 5th ed came out and it's like, oh, you've got 3 ways. And you're like, oh, okay, that's cool, I guess. I don't really like any of these, so I guess I'm not playing a monk. But now you've got 12 options, 12 canon D&D Wizards of the Coast approved ways to play a monk, and that's a lot, like a lot. But yeah, before you even talk about the way of whatever, and that's how you sort of flavor and build your monk, at a certain point, you really do become like ridiculous. Where is it? Oh yeah, I always like to throw out, oh wait, they look like they've changed this. Oh no, there it is. It's at 15th level. Sorry, at 15th level, you get an ability called Timeless Body. Your key sustains you so that you suffer none of the frailty of old age, and you can't be aged magically. You can still die of old age, however. In addition, you no longer need food or water. You don't have to eat. You don't have to drink. You don't become weak as you get older. But one day, you will die.
You say, okay, yeah, that's level 15. I
Yeah.
remember, I remember, the person who played a monk in my game was a Warforged monk, and they don't have to eat or drink anyway. And there were a couple things that he got as a monk that just were not all that exciting because he was a Warforged. Like I think at one point, you get resistance or you can't be poisoned or something like that. And in one of them, and he's like, well, I'm already, Warforged at that time already had something like that.
Yeah.
Just because of their race and what they are. But yeah. And so
I probably did you try to come up with something else for him? Because I'd have been like, man, that's not fair. You just get the shaft. Like
we did some extra stuff. When they started getting high level and they were going from like legendary hero status to almost god tier status.
Yeah.
In the world.
15 to 20 transition.
Yeah, and that they all started getting the attention of actual deities, and they became basically, what's the word? We watched Moon. Have you even seen Moon Knight? Have you?
No.
No. Okay. Well, they became like avatars for these deities. The deities bestowed upon them something special, and everybody had the attention of a different deity, and so. I forget what I did for him, but there was some extra monk stuff that I kind of homebrewed and made up. That was really cool. But so we're going through here. You get your monk, okay, whatever race. And I want to add this this kind of side note. My oldest daughter is 11. And we're playing our first D&D game. We took a little break, but we're actually going to hop back in it this Friday. And she loves frogs. Loves frogs. And there is a race, and I don't know if it's like D&D canon or what. It's non-core. Yeah, this is non-core D&D material. It's a race called the Grung, and it's basically, they're small size, and they're just frogs.
Yeah.
But their skin...
Cody said, Grung monks, sick idea.
Well, it is, and I didn't think about this.
Wait till you start hearing some of these details, dude. You're gonna flip.
Yeah. One of their racial benefits is poisonous skin. And as any creature that grapples you or otherwise comes into direct contact with your skin must succeed a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or become poisoned for 1 minute. A poisoned creature no longer in direct contact with you can repeat the saving throw at the end of each of its turns, ending the effect on itself on a success. You can also apply the poison to any piercing weapon as part of an attack with that weapon. Though when you hit, the poison reacts differently. The target must succeed a DC 12 Constitution saving throw or take 2d4 poison damage. So it says it's part of the attack. So you don't have to do anything extra. It's not like using a bonus action or a reaction or whatever. It just says part of the attack. You get this extra poison. But the first part, coming in direct contact. So if you punch somebody, that is direct contact. So a Grung monk is sitting here just like slapping people around and everybody's getting poisoned, and it's like it's so fun.
Yeah.
So my daughter is playing a Grung monk, and it's fun to watch. But all right, so the first order of business is the magic of key points. Key. That's it.
Key.
KI. Yeah. Monks make careful study of a magical energy that most monastic traditions called ki. This energy is an element of the magic that suffuses the multiverse, specifically the element that flows through living bodies. Monks harness this power within themselves to create magical effects and exceed their body's physical capabilities. And some of their special attacks can hinder the flow of ki in their opponents. Using this energy, monks channel uncanny speed and strength into their unarmed strikes. As they gain experience, their martial training and their mastery of ki gives them more power over their bodies and the bodies of their foes. So, ki is the monk specific. It says the magic of ki. You can consider it magic, life force, energy.
Yeah.
Got my phone chiming over here. So we can go down to keys. So as a monk, you get key points. And I believe, let's see, key points. Okay, starting at second level, you don't have any at first level. Starting at second level, you get 2. And it goes up 1 point per level.
Pretty regularly, yeah.
Yeah. So at second level 2, third 3, 4, 4, so forth and so on, 1 point per level till you get 20 points at 20th level.
And then you can start burning through them like crazy.
Yeah. And key points can do some pretty fun stuff. So depending on what you want to do with them, you can spend key points to do certain things in combat. And I think, your key points, they reset with a long or a short rest. I can't remember. But it's some pretty fun stuff. So for example, Flurry of Blows, this is like the top one. I think the most basic one everybody gets. Immediately after you take the attack action on your turn, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Sorry, I got something in my throat.
Well, get it out. We got a show to do. God.
Sweet tea helps. Let's see. Patient Defense, Step of the Wind. To just kind of give you some names of some other stuff. I'm going to go through here. I'm just kind of skimming. Mm-hmm.
There was one that I just saw. It said, I can't remember what it was called, but basically at a certain level, you use your key to understand all languages.
Yeah.
What is it called? I just saw it. Tongue of the Sun and Moon. Yeah. Starting at 13th level, you learn to touch the key of other minds so that you understand all spoken languages. Moreover, any creature that can understand a language can understand what you say.
So not only can you understand it, but you can pass on that meaning to somebody who may not understand you normally.
You.
That's really cool.
Mm-hmm.
All right, so we got key points. Let's go here and look at some other features that they get. So at first level, you get unarmored defense. Beginning at first level, when you're wearing no armor and not wielding a shield, your AC equals 10 plus your Dex modifier plus your Wisdom modifier. So, see, there's so many good stats for monks. It's like,
yes. There's really not one to kind of dump if you think about it. I mean, they need their strength, they need their dexterity. Their con is always good. Of course, you guys know how I feel about Constitution. It should be your second highest stat always. But they even benefit from like charisma and wisdom and intelligence. Like it's kind of like an everyman kind of class. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. Yeah. Its first level, one of your abilities is martial arts. And from your training, whatever your training looks like, you get a couple of benefits. You can use dexterity instead of strength for your attack and damage rolls of your unarmed strikes, and uses of monk weapons. So there are specific weapons that are considered monk weapons. And so one thing I tried to do late level with one of my monks, because there's magical items that are considered monk weapons, like magical weapons as well. And so kind of dipping that into the world for your monk to find. But the I can't remember the name of it, but the order that we developed for my character to be a part of and kind of start rebuilding was revolved around snakes. Like the snake was kind of like the mascot or the animal or that it was built upon. So there was a magical item that he got. There was a whip that with an action, he could make it actually turn into a snake. And then he could pick it up and it'd be a whip again. It was a pretty cool item. But
Nice.
yeah, but we made it into a monk weapon. So he was able to get more benefit out of that. You can roll a d4 in place of the normal damage of your unarmed strikes or monk weapon. So most of the time, if you're doing an unarmed strike, you just get like your strength, like whatever your strength modifier is. I don't think you actually get to roll for unarmed strike if you're not like trained in that, if I remember correctly. So with this, you get a d4 plus strength modifier or dex, whichever you choose. When you use the attack action with an unarmed strike or a monk on your turn, you can make one unarmed strike as a bonus action. So right out the gate at level 1, you're already getting 2 attacks, just like boom, like
Which
punch
is what
punch.
people love that first level. Like one of the most frustrating things in the level 1 to 3 crawl, as it's lovingly known as, the sludge that you got to get through to not be scared that you're going to die immediately, is you're like, if I could only just attack one more time. But monks can right out the gate. It's like pop, pop. Like you're only doing like d4s each time, but that means you're doing minimum 2 damage plus your strength. So it's not a bad way to start, really.
Yeah. And if you get a good bonus to your dex or your strength or whatever, it's like, minimal, you're going to be doing, I don't know, well, like a +4, would be pretty normal.
Yeah.
Like, I know for at least, if I punch you, I'm going to do at least 4 damage or at least 5 damage, because if I roll a 1 on my d4, like, that's 10 damage minimum on my turn when I'm punching something.
And CR1 monsters typically don't have that much more than that for HP, so it's not a bad way to go.
No. Let's see. Some of the fun stuff that I like. One of my favorite monk abilities is deflect missile.
Yes.
Starting at 3rd level, you can use your reaction to deflect or catch the missile when you are hit by a ranged weapon attack. So missile just means like an arrow or anything that's like thrown or shot at you.
Yeah, dagger, dart, literally anything.
Yeah. Not magic missile.
No.
But you can catch it. When you do so, the damage you take from the attack is reduced by 1d10 plus your dex modifier plus your monk level. So if you reduce the damage to 0, which is pretty likely if you're doing a 1d10 plus your dex mod plus your monk level, if you reduce the damage to 0, you can catch the missile. If it is small enough for you to hold in one hand and you have at least one hand free, if you catch a missile in this way, you can spend 1 key point, so going back to your key points, to make a ranged weapon attack with the weapon or piece of ammunition you just caught as part of the same reaction. So if you catch it and it does 0 damage, you could throw it right back. And that's one of my favorite favorite monk abilities. Like it's it's a very basic low level ability, but like you don't see anybody else doing that.
No.
You can make this attack with proficiency, regardless of the weapon's proficiencies, and the missile counts as a monk weapon for the attack, which has a normal range of 20 feet and a long range of 60 feet. So, scrolling down, interrupt me if you got anything, Trey.
No, you're doing good. You're hitting kind of all the highlights. I was kind of skimming through all the ways so I can be ready to talk about those.
Good call. Some more basic monk abilities. At 4th level, you get slow fall. You can use your reaction when you fall to reduce any falling damage you take by an amount equal to 5 times your monk level.
Which I think it's important to note that is not feather fall. That's a different thing. Feather fall like slows it to where you really don't take hardly any damage, if any at all. And slow fall is this scaled damage reduction, which is pretty good. Even like at 4th level, if it's 5 times your monk level and you're level 4, that's 4 times 5, that's 20. So you can reduce fall damage by 20. So if you fall 20 feet, you take no damage, which will save you.
Yeah.
But if you get all the way up to 20th level, like your one player did, that's 100 points of fall damage. You get to just say nah.
Yeah. Yeah. Fall damage, isn't it 1d6 per 10 feet past?
I think it's just 1d6 per 10 feet.
Yeah, but like the first 10 feet or the first 20 feet don't count, I think.
Well, I think the idea is that the first 20 feet is like you could do a dexterity check or acrobatics to see if you can like do something to land and not hurt yourself, yada yada yada. But typically the way I've seen it done is like it's every 10 feet, because that's what a story is. You think about buildings or structures being stories high. That's a 10 feet is a story. So it's like you're mitigating every 10 feet of falling damage, but you could look it up. I mean,
I got it.
Wonderful website.
Yeah, I got it. So, just in case anybody's wondering, falling. A fall from a great height is one of the most common hazards facing an adventurer. At the end of a fall, a creature takes 1d6 bludgeoning damage for every 10 feet it fell, to a maximum of 20d6. The creature lands prone unless it avoids taking damage from the fall. All right, so just per 10 feet. I think maybe the 10 feet or, it might be like an older version that negates the first 10 or 20 or something.
Yeah.
But yeah, so 1d6 per 10 feet to a maximum of 20d6.
I've also seen things in modules that kind of ignore that and say, no, if you fall off of this, you're taking this much damage. And
gotcha.
So, like, for instance, I think, like in the Curse of Strahd campaign, like, Strahd's castle is at the top of a very high precipitous cliff, and they even make a point to be like, this thing is like 1,000 feet tall. If a character falls off of this and does not stop it in any way, and they hit the ground, they are taking 100d6 points of damage. Like, it's built into the actual mechanics of this cliff, and I'm like, oh, okay then.
I'm curious, because you can type in roll dice into Google. I'm gonna do 100, roll 100 d6. Just kind of get an idea how much
that would be on an average roll.
Yeah, let's see. Okay, let's see. Roll 100 d6. Stop. Does not add it up for me. Oh, here we go. Boom. 381 damage.
So that's a lot.
That is a lot.
Unless you are a very high-leveled martial class, odds are that's going to drop you to 0.
Yeah, I've rolled it several times here, and it.
If you were a monk, 20th level, that's only 200 and something damage, and
yeah. Fifth level, you get an extra attack. You can attack twice instead of once. So
with your flurry of blows.
Right.
So that automatically bumps you up to at least 4.
Yeah. Well, let's see. You get the Fury of Blows. Taken immediately after you take the attack action on your turn, you can spend 1 key point to make 2 unarmed strikes as a bonus action. Okay. Okay, so you could do that after one of the attacks because you only get 1 bonus action. So that'll be attack, key points, flurry of blows, attack. At 5th level. I'm skimming over something there. Yeah. And then stunning strike. This one I think rustles a lot of DM feathers. I respect it, but had some aggravation with it just because it's like crap. You just paralyzed a creature of mine. All right, starting at 6th level, your unarmed strikes count as magical for the purpose of overcoming resistance and immunity to non-magical attacks. No, that's something else. Sorry. All right, stunning strike. Starting at 5th level, you can interfere with the flow of ki in an opponent's body. When you hit another creature with a melee weapon attack, you can spend 1 key point to attempt a stunning strike. The target must exceed a Constitution saving throw or be stunned until the end of your next turn. Okay. There's no restrictions really on this.
No.
Like as far as what level the creature is. If you hit them, you can spend a key point and try to do a stunning strike. When you're like higher level monk, you could do this basically every time you attack if you've got key points. I kid you not, late game, monks have insane mobility. Okay.
Oh yeah.
They can run up walls. They can like stop midair and punch stuff. Like
they can triple their speed.
Yes. And so I had the monk. We were fighting a dragon. Okay, it was one of the late game bosses. We were fighting a dragon. He runs up a wall. I'll wait till Trey sits back down. Okay, so
sorry, I have to turn on my fan because I too am in a hot room.
Yeah,
so I can't. We're just gonna have to deal with a slight hum in the background.
Nah, you can't hear it. It's fine.
Okay,
anyway, so the monk runs up a wall. And then he gets like extra movement late game, something monks do. Jumps off the wall, hits this dragon, uses a key point for stunning strike. And at this point, I think I've used up all of my legendary resistance, like where you just automatically like pass.
Succeed.
Yeah. And he stunned the dragon midair, and the dragon fell like 50, 60, 70 feet to the ground because it was paralyzed. Like
66 damage, buddy.
Right. Stunning strike is a very, very good ability. So it stuns an enemy, and just so we're clear on what stun means, it's like it's an actual condition. A stunned creature is incapacitated, can't move, and can speak only barely. The creature automatically fails strength and dexterity saving throws. Attack rolls against the creature have advantage.
Yeah. God. Not just for you, but for everybody.
For everybody.
In general.
Yeah, if a creature is stunned, it can't defend itself. You're going to have advantage on their attack rolls.
And that lasts until the end of their next turn. So your monk putting that dragon on the ground basically got everyone a chance to curb stomp him for one good round before he got back up.
Yeah.
After taking 66 fall damage.
Yeah. Yeah. See, and this we haven't even gotten into like the different ways, so this is all just what every monk gets. Let's see. 6th level, you get key empowered strikes. Your unarmed strikes count as magical.
Yep, your hands become magic.
Yep. At 6th level, you get unarmed movement. Your unarmed movement speed increases, or speed bone increases to 15 feet while you are not wearing armor or wielding shield. So you get 15 extra feet of movement speed if you're not wearing armor. Right? That's how I'm reading that. Unarmored movement. So base is 30 normally for your race. Most races. So like you're just leaving everybody else in the dust at 6th level. 7th level, evasion. Your instinctive agility lets you dodge out of the way of certain area effects, such as a blue dragon's lightning breath or a fireball spell. When you're subject to an effect that allows you to make a dexterity saving throw to take only half damage, you instead take no damage. If you succeed on the saving throw, and only half damage if you fail.
Which is one of the bread and butters of being a rogue is that evasion. And it's really, really good. It means at worst you're always only going to take half damage from stuff when you have to make those saves. But if you succeed, you just take no damage.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I think is going to go hand in hand really well when we get into the Way of Shadow and kind of describe what that is. But that's a little bit later.
Yeah. All right. 9th level, you get unarmed movement improvement. So at 6th level, you get unarmored movement. And then on 9th level, you get unarmored movement improvement. And it says at 9th level, you gain the ability to move along vertical surfaces. So going back to that wall run earlier that my monk did. And across liquids on your turn without falling during your move. So you can Jesus it. Run across the water. At 10th level, your mastery of ki flowing through you makes you immune to disease and poison. 10th level, your unarmored speed bonus increases to 20 feet. So that's not stacking. That just goes from 15 to 20 while you're not wearing armor or a shield. And then we talked about the tongue of the sun and moon earlier for languages. 14th level, you get Diamond Soul. Your mastery of ki grants you proficiency in all saving throws. Additionally, whenever you make a saving throw and fail, you can spend 1 ki point to re-roll it and take the second result. That's pretty good. Unarmored movement again at 14th level. So we went from 15 to 20, and now we're at 25 extra movement speed. 15th level is Timeless Body. We talked about that earlier. You don't age. You no longer need food or water. And then 18th level, Empty Body. Beginning at 18th level, you can use your action to spend 4 ki points to become invisible for 1 minute. During that time, you also have resistance to all damage but force damage. Additionally, you can spend 8 ki points to cast the Astral Projection spell without needing material components. When you do so, you can't take any other creatures with you. And then 18th level, your speed goes from 25 to 30 additional. So most people at this point are moving 60 feet in a turn or 120 in a dash. And then the last one, 20th level, Perfect Self. At 20th level, when you roll for initiative and have no ki points remaining, you regain 4 ki points. So that's all the stuff on the monk table class or class table that every monk gets. Yeah. And then you get into your ways.
And there's a bunch.
There is a bunch. We got Way of Mercy, Way of Shadow, Way of the Ascendant Dragon, Way of the Astral Self, Way of the Cobalt Soul, Way of the Drunken Master, Way of the Four Elements, Way of the Kinsey, I guess that's how you say it.
Sure, what?
Way of the Long Death, Way of the Open Hand, and Way of the Sun Soul.
Yep. And I think the original 3 from this was Way of Shadow, Way of the Four Elements, and the Way of the Open Hand. I think those were the original 3. So all these other 9 have been added as we've kind of grown and expanded. And some of these are actually really interesting, even as far as like flavor wise go. And what I'm really seeing here with these ways is that you could be a monk, but you can be like a monk with a lot of other class flavor in there as well. Like this first one, Way of Mercy, really makes me feel like you're a monk, but you got some cleric tendencies. Because it says monks of the Way of Mercy learn to manipulate the life force of others to bring aid to those in need. They are wandering physicians to the poor and hurt. However, to those beyond their help, they bring a swift end as an act of mercy. So, like, you've got healing things that you can do and all of that. But that last little bit, if there's someone beyond their help, they bring a swift end to them. So they're like, no, you shouldn't be made to suffer. And then they, like, end you. So they're very, like, Dr. Kevorkian, you're suffering. There's nothing I can do to actually help you, so I'm just gonna like end it for you. You're welcome. And it gives a good little way, like how you know when you're dealing with a monk who follows the way of mercy. It says walkers of this way usually don robes with deep cowls, and they often conceal their faces with masks, presenting themselves as the faceless bringers of life and death. So, like, when you come across a monk that follows the way of mercy, you're like, oh, they're going to try to help me. But if they can't, there's a whole nother issue here. Like, ooh. And they've got a bunch of different things. I won't go into all of their different abilities for each one of these ways, but you get a lot of cool stuff for each of these. Mm-hmm.
I'm just thinking of it would be hilarious. I'm just thinking of if I was playing a Way of Mercy monk, but kind of being like really naive or like very young in the order, and like whatever party I'm traveling with, and somebody goes down in combat, I'm just like, oh, I guess he's down. I need to put him out.
Yeah. And he's like, well, I'm fine. It was one hit. And you're like, no, this is better. And everyone's like, whoa.
It's like, no, he's just prone. He just slipped. Like, he's not down.
Just help him up.
Yeah.
That would be funny. They even give like a random chart for like the different types of masks, but I'm sure you could flavor your mask to look like whatever you want.
Oh,
but
yeah.
The ones they kind of suggest are a raven mask, which makes me think of like a plague doctor kind of thing. A black and white mask, a crying visage, a laughing visage, a skull, or a butterfly. So you just have like this mask that you wear that really marks you as a monk of the Way of Mercy. But yeah, it also looks like you can like heal people but also harm people, and there's even an ability on here called Flurry of Healing and Harm. It says you can now mete out a flurry of comfort and hurt. When you use Flurry of Blows, you can now replace each of the unarmed strikes with a use of your Hand of Healing without spending key points for the healing. In addition, when you make an unarmed strike with Flurry of Blows, you can use Hand of Harm with that strike without spending the key point for Hand of Harm. You can still use Hand of Harm only once per turn. So you could just be jumping into the fray of it, and you're like, Hand of Harm, up there's my buddy, Hand of Healing. And then, like stuff like that. Which is funny to me to think that you're dealing out healing through your punches.
Yeah. And that Hand of Harm, I'm looking at it because you could do that outside of that ability at a lower level. That deals necrotic damage. So I like that. It's like a Hand of Healing is pretty self-explanatory, but Hand of Harm is like they really do mirror each other, with one giving life and one being actual necrotic damage to take it away.
Oh my goodness. I also just looked at their 17th level thing. It's called Hand of Ultimate Mercy. Your mastery of life energy opens the door to the ultimate mercy. As an action, you can touch the corpse of a creature that died within the past 24 hours and expend 5 key points. The creature then returns to life, regaining a number of hit points equal to 4d10 plus your wisdom modifier. So high level Way of Mercy monks just get resurrection.
Yeah, that is awesome.
Yeah, and they're just like, womp, there you go. I got the key points. And even if it's at the end of the fight and you're out of key points, it says if it's in the past 24 hours, and it's like, all right, let's all rest and recuperate. First thing in the morning, womp, and you're back.
Yeah.
Golly, man. But that is 17th level, so you don't get that as a failsafe until much, much later.
Yeah.
Yep. After that, it's the Way of Shadow, and it says these monks might be called ninjas or shadow dancers. So think about what you know about ninjas. That's what these monks are. Very stealthy, subterfuge kind of thing. They've got shadow step, cloak of shadow, shadow arts. Like they can cast darkness, dark vision, pass without a trace, silence, minor illusions, all those cool, sneaky things. Cloak of Shadows. When you're in an area of dim light or darkness, you can use an action and become invisible. You remain invisible until you make an attack, cast a spell, or in the area of bright light. Their 17th level thing is called Opportunist. It says you can exploit a creature's momentary distraction when it is hit by an attack. Whenever a creature within 5 feet of you is hit by an attack made by a creature other than you, you can use your reaction to make a melee attack against that creature. So if you're in the middle of a fight, because most of the time we picture monks just going hand to hand in a group of dudes, like in all kung fu movies. Every time one of your friends hits one, you get a free attack. Just pop right there.
Yeah.
So that means you're making attacks constantly. So if you're like a Way of Shadow monk, you don't need to be sleeping during combat. Higher level stuff like you are getting basically an extra attack every turn. And it says,
well, it's your reaction, so you get one reaction per round.
Creature within 5 feet is hit by an attack, you can use your reaction. Yes.
Yeah. So you can't be like popping somebody every time somebody, pops them.
Yeah. But still.
But yeah, no, still very good.
The next one is Way of the Ascendant Dragon, which sounds really cool.
Yeah.
I will probably this Way of the Ascended Dragon thing immediately wants me to make like a werebear monk and make him a panda and just make him Kung Fu Panda. Like I just want him and all of that wonderfulness, because it says the dragon god Bahamut is known to travel the material plane in the guise of a monk, and legend says that he founded the first monastery of the Way of the Ascendant Dragon in their guise. So these are like monks that revere the dragon, particularly Bahamut, the platinum dragon, and they just try to emulate the dragon. Like all of their attacks are like based off of dragons, and then they take aspects of the dragon. They get a breath weapon at 3rd level. When you take the attack action on your turn, you can replace one of the attacks with an exhalation of draconic energy in either a 20-foot cone or a 30-foot line that is 5 feet wide. Choose the damage type: acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison. So you get to pick what type of breath weapon you're doing each time you do this. And then of course they get a saving throw, half damage, and all of that.
They also, going back up to the 3rd level, you get draconic strike. So when you use like any unarmed strike, those now have, or you can change it to a different type of damage. So it doesn't get like additional acid damage, but you can change the damage type to acid, cold, fire, lightning, poison. The different elements that a dragon's breath would take.
Yeah.
Which, when you damage a target, you can change the damage type. So it just says when you damage a target with an unarmed strike, you can change the damage type. So I imagine like you can change that as much as you want. I don't see any type of restriction, on that. It's just when you damage a target.
Yeah. Which, if you're looking for like something that a monster or an opponent is weak to, you could just be like, all right, punch, acid, nothing extra. Okay, this time cold, nothing. All right, and you can just sort of find out if you can get that the thing that they take like double damage to because they're susceptible to it. Doesn't always happen because not everything has that type of thing. But yeah, I mean, you could sort of cycle through real quick and then do some quick deductive reasoning and let your party know, hey, this works really well. If you're punching a troll and you like do some fire damage, trolls take extra fire damage, and it stops their regeneration ability. So, nifty.
Yep. And I just love the 6th level. You basically
Oh
just
yeah.
get wings. They give you a flying speed. When you use your Step of the Wind, you can unfurl spectral draconic wings from your back that vanish at the end of your turn. While the wings exist, you have a flying speed equal to your walking speed. And as a monk, your walking speed gets ridiculous the higher level you are.
Yep.
So,
Yep. The next one, level 11 for them, is Aspect of the Worm. Um, the power of your draconic spirit now radiates from you, warding your allies and inspiring fear in your enemies. As a bonus action, you can create an aura of draconic power that radiates 10 feet from you for 1 minute. During the duration, you gain one of the following effects of your choice. Frightful Presence, which is like a dragon. You know, they have a frightful presence, and people have to make a save or become frightened of you for 1 minute, which is super nifty, because if you are frightened, you cannot willingly move closer to the source of your fear, which means the bad guys ain't coming closer to you. They can only move away from you.
right.
And then you can choose to have a resistance to a certain type of damage. And then what I'm seeing is each one of these things for the dragon have different things that you can use underneath it. Like the 17th level thing is the Ascendant Aspect. You gain the following benefits.
Yeah, your breath gets better.
Yeah.
Your breath attack. You gain blind sight. So you can basically see invisible creatures or, stuff like that. Blind sight is pretty common status. And an Explosive Fury. When you activate your Aspect of the Worm, Draconic Fury explodes from you. Choose any number of creatures you can see within the aura. Each of those creatures must succeed a dexterity saving throw against your key save DC or take 3d10 acid, cold, fire, lightning, or poison damage, your choice. Yeah.
Yeah. So you can become pretty draconic. And then if you really wanted to just go all the way with this dragon thing, you could be a dragonborn monk of the Ascended Dragon. And then just really lean into it. But then I guess that could either rob you of some things, like you said with your Warforged thing. It doesn't help me that I don't have to eat or sleep, because I don't eat or sleep already. So if you're a Dragonborn, you've already got a breath weapon. So, but being able to do different types of damage as a Dragonborn, I think would be cool.
Yeah. All right. So the next one, which we've got a lot. We'll be here for a while if we read through all of these abilities.
I'm trying to hit the highlights is really what I'm trying to do. The Way of the Astral Self is basically, it says the monks who follow this believe that their body is an illusion. Your body is just a physical thing, and your key really makes up who you truly are. So you have your astral projection self is who you truly are, and they use that as their focus and all of that. But there is a cool little thing I want to read about the astral self for flavor reasons. It says form of your astral self. It says the astral self is a translucent embodiment of the monk's soul. As a result, an astral self can reflect aspects of a monk's background, ideals, flaws, and bonds. And as an astral self doesn't necessarily look anything like the monk. For example, the astral self of a lanky human might be reminiscent of a minotaur, the strength of which the monk feels within. Similarly, an orc monk might manifest gossamer arms and a delicate visage, representing the gentle beauty of the orc soul. Each astral self is unique, and some of the monks of this monastic tradition are known more for the appearance of their astral self than their physical appearance. When choosing this path, consider the quirks that define your monk. Are you obsessive with something? Are you driven by justice or a selfish desire? Any of these motivations can manifest in the form of your astral self. So when you're using this astral self of yours, it looks how you want it to look. It's sort of like astral weapon, I think is what that one ability is called, where you manifest a weapon of some kind and it does so much damage, but it can look like anything you want.
Is that the thing that one of the characters from Critical Role had, and it was just a giant lollipop?
Yes, I believe that was Laura Bailey playing Jester. And she was like this goofy, childlike tiefling, and yeah, she did that. And hers manifested as this giant lollipop that would attack people. So stuff like that could be fun. Like a lot of people enjoy the astral weapon or to sort of like flavor their character a lot, and this lets you sort of do it with your whole appearance. So I really like this idea of your astral self can be anything, like it could be. I love the idea of the duality of it. Like maybe you're playing a halfling, but he sees himself as a mountain of a monk, and his astral self is like a giant, like literally a frost giant or something. So like he's huge when he's in his astral form. And they've got all of their different stuff. Arms of the astral self, visage, all has to do with the astral self. Let me just sort of hit the 17th one, because those are like bonkers and fun. Awakened astral self. Your connection to your astral self is complete, allowing you to unleash its full potential. As a bonus action, you can spend 5 key points to summon the arms, visage, and body of your astral self and awaken it for 10 minutes. This awakening ends early if you are incapacitated or die. While your astral self is awakened, you gain the following benefits. You gain a +2 to your armor class, and whenever you use the extra attack feature to attack twice, you can instead attack 3 times if all the attacks are made with your astral arms. So your body like disappears and you just become your full astral self for 10 minutes, which in combat is forever.
Right. Yeah.
It takes forever.
You know what? I'm gonna nerd myself here, pretty extreme, but have you ever watched Naruto?
Yes, I actually got all the way up to when Shippuden starts.
Okay, well then I think it was I know it was in Shippuden. I think it was the Sasuke, how he gets like that spiritual form where like that's what it reminds me of. Like that spiritual person comes out and just basically engulfs him and like gives him, I don't know, like a giant spirit mech almost that he operates through.
I know what you're talking about, yeah. And that would be even a cool way to do it. You could be like, okay, your astral self takes over, but you're just sort of like floating in the middle of it.
Yeah.
And then that would be really cool depending on what your astral self actually looks like. But yeah, that could be cool. I mean, going back to the whole halfling thing, if you're a halfling and you're floating around in a frost giant astral body, that's pretty dope.
Yeah. All right. The next one, The Way of the Cobalt Soul.
More unofficial material.
Yeah, this is going back to Critical Role. This Critical Role content, along with the class that we covered 2 episodes ago for the Blood Hunter. Something that was created for the Critical Role show, but think of it as kind of like a scholarly monk, like someone who's chasing after knowledge and truth and such. How does the world work? I want answers. I want to go. I haven't really read too much into this, but I think if my character in my current game dies, which I'm playing the Haragon, the Rabbit Race, and I'm a druid, I'm going to make a monk. I mean, I'm sorry. Well, it's going to be a monk, but it's going to be a dwarf, and it's going to be Way of the Drunken Master.
Of course.
This, I mean, have you ever seen the old Jackie Chan Kung Fu?
The Drunken Master movies? They're my favorites, man.
They're so good. Yeah. No.
So basically, if you haven't seen it, the idea is, in the movies, Jackie Chan is like this guy in China, and he's like, he knows Kung Fu because for some reason in Kung Fu movies, everyone in China knows Kung Fu. And so his thing is that he figures out that when he drinks and gets drunk, he has this new way of fighting, and it's called the Way of the Drunken Master. And there's this whole story about how you shouldn't do this because you're just drunk and yada, yada, yada. Anyway, I won't go into those movies, but this is basically what this is. And I highly recommend. Just look up, like, Jackie Chan Drunken Master fight scenes, and you'll see, because it's very loosey-goosey, spinning, flailing arms, and it's very fun. And of course, Travis is right. This lends itself to a good dwarf.
Yeah, and if you look up that footage, or if you've ever seen anybody intoxicated, and they're just kind of like not very sure of their steps, and they're just kind of swaying back and forth, and their balance just kind of seems off. Think about that, and then add a fighting style to it. So just kind of reading the abilities. Drunken Technique, Tipsy Sway, Drunkard's Luck, Intoxicated Frenzy. And just going all the way to the 17th level, Intoxicated Frenzy. Level 17, you gain the ability to make an overwhelming number of attacks against a group of enemies. When you use Flurry of Blows, you can make up to 3 additional attacks with it, up to a total of 5 Flurry of Blows attacks, provided that each Flurry of Blow attack targets a different creature this turn. So you get to use it like up to 5 times, but you just got to be like popping people left and right, just like somebody different every time. So if you think about like a bar fight and you got like this drunken dwarf and he's just making all this noise and you get like ganged up on and you're just like pop, like just clocking everybody. Drunkard's Luck.
And then he does Stunning Strike on top of it.
Yeah.
And the guy drops. Pop, the guy drops.
Drunkard's Luck. You always seem to get a lucky bonus at the right moment. When you make an ability check, an attack roll, or a saving throw and have disadvantage on the roll, you can spend 2 key points to cancel the disadvantage of that roll. Let's see. And that's 11th level. Tipsy Sway at 6th level. You can move in sudden swaying ways. You gain the following benefits. Leap to your feet. When you're prone, you can stand up by spending 5 feet of movement rather than half your speed. Redirect attack. When a creature misses you with a melee attack, you can spend 1 key point as a reaction to cause that attack to hit one creature of your choice, other than the attacker, that you can see within 5 feet of you. That just sounds like fun.
Oh, yeah. It would be so good. Because, in our kind of lore, I know your world, your go-to homebrew world and my go-to homebrew world are different, but we've also kind of talked about how they may or may not be connected. They probably are, kind of thing. We've got enough drunken dwarf lore lore out there to make this a whole thing. Like, that would be fun to sit down and hammer out. Like, if you and I are going to create a canon in our campaigns, Way of the Drunken Master monastery. Like, what does it look like? How does it function? That would be cool.
Yep. All right, so I'm already excited. I might just roll up that character tonight for like
ready.
Future use. Yeah. The next one, The Way of the Four Elements. I haven't even read this one, but I'm just like going to say it's Avatar. Yeah.
Yeah, you're the Avatar. You're the Avatar. Yeah. Think about bending the elements and attacking with it, and that's what this way does. That's pretty much it. Like,
your unarmored strikes get elemental damage. You can use key points to cast spells. So, for example, 4 key points to cast Fireball, 3 key points to cast Shatter, and of course these are all tied to different elements. And let's go down. Let's see.
The next one is Way of the Kensi, I guess is what we're going to go with.
Yeah.
But this is more the martial one. Like, if you wanted to be a monk, but you're like, I really want to do some fighter stuff, this is the way you would go. You relentlessly train with weapons, and you start gaining proficiencies with different types of weapons. And you basically just get more and more proficient with weapons in general, up to 5 different weapon types, which are pretty much all of them. And so you get proficiency with that. You get to do a whole bunch of good things. It says 1 with the blade at 6th level. You extend your key into your Kensi weapons, granting you the following benefits. Your weapons become magical whenever you're using them, even if they themselves are not. Death Strike, you hit a target and you can spend a key point to deal extra damage to the target equal to your martial arts die. And you can just basically choose any type of weapon every time you get one of these and just get better and better at it.
Yeah, your Kensai weapon was it 3rd level. You get to choose a type of weapon. So if you want to choose, I think this is the class the way that my monk chose that played in my game, because I remember he had a katana, like that was his weapon. to start off with. And I think later on, I forget what weapon he added. It might have been that that whip that he got. He made that because you can add additional later on when you're higher. But your focus is that Kensai weapon. So you've kind of got like a weapon that you love, that you stick to, like that's your thing. And that particular type of weapon is going to get better the higher level you get, and you get to do special stuff with it. So if you want to be a monk that is like, all about that one sword or all about that, one crossbow or something, that's the way to go.
Mm-hmm. At 17th level, you get this thing called Unerring Accuracy. It says if you miss with an attack roll using your monk weapon on your turn, you can re-roll it. You can do this once on each of your turns. So you're like, oh, I missed? Well, I haven't missed any of my others, and I can't use it. I can use it again next round, so I'm just going to re-roll it. Now, it does just say re-roll. If you miss that second one, you just missed. Like, there is no getting around 2 misses. But you do get a chance to redo it, so that's pretty good. Being able to just re-roll an attack is nice.
Yeah. Yeah. All right. Way of the Long Death. Monks of the Way of the Long Death are obsessed with the meaning and mechanics of dying. They capture creatures and prepare elaborate experiments to capture, record, and understand the moments of their demise. Then they use this knowledge to guide their understanding of martial arts, yielding a deadly fighting style. Yeah, it's a very short little thing. You get Touch of Death.
These things are kind of bonkers, though. Have you read them?
No. Touch of Death, Hour of Reaping at 6th level. Misery of Death at 11th. Touch of the Long Death at 17. Starting, all right, so this is the first one, Touch of Death. Starting when you choose this tradition at 3rd level, your study of death allows you to extract vitality from another creature as it nears its demise. When you reduce a creature within 5 feet of you to 0 hit points, you gain temporary hit points equal to your wisdom modifier plus your monk level. Whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's dark.
The Mastery of Death one is kind of bonkers to me because this is at 11th level. So this is not outside the realm of most people to reach.
Yeah.
Use your familiarity with death to escape its grasp. When you are reduced to 0 hit points, you can expend 1 key point, no action required, to have 1 hit point instead. And that doesn't say once per encounter or anything like that. It says if you have a key point.
Yeah. That's
so
like,
you're just like, oh, nope, no, you're weak. You're at 1 HP, but you're not down, is the point.
Right. Yeah. It's like, I just refuse to die.
Yeah. And then the Touch of the Long Death. Your touch can channel the energy of death into a creature. Did you read this one?
No.
Oh, as an action, you touch one creature within 5 feet of you and expend 1 to 10, 1-10. Like you can choose 1, 2, 3, all the way up to 10. The target must make a Constitution saving throw, and it takes 2d10 necrotic damage per key point spent on a failed save, and half as much damage on a successful one. So if you dump it all, if you say 10 key points, that is 20 d10 necrotic damage if they fail, and half if they save.
Yep.
So it's basically like the spell, is it like Death Touch or Power Word Kill? You're just like, man, that's bonkers. So yeah, you become the Grim Reaper. Nice. I like that one. And then this one is the last one, not the last one, but it's the last one that we had when we got 5th edition. It's Way of the Open Hand. It says, are the ultimate masters of martial art combat, whether armed or unarmed. They learn techniques to push and trip their bodies, manipulate ki to heal damage, yada, yada, yada. Like, this is like the ultimate Buddhist monk situation is kind of what I think about when I think of these guys.
Yeah. So every monk class, is very proficient in their hand-to-hand combat. Open hand takes it just to a little bit another level compared to all the rest.
Yeah, you can do all kinds of different things. wholeness of body at 6th level, you gain the ability to heal yourself. As an action, you regain hit points equal to 3 times your monk level. You must finish a long rest before you can do this. So once a day, 3 times your level, you're just get that back. Doer Lemons, what's up, guys? Talking about monks, I dig it. Yeah, we're a day late on this episode for the stream portion, but yeah, we're talking about monks. It's been a good time.
Yep. Wrapping up the last two ways.
Yeah. And the last thing that they could do at 17th level, and I've actually done this. Like I did when I was 1 year for I'm a teacher, if anyone doesn't know. And so I was doing some D&D stuff with my kids one time, and they just wanted to do like epic level fighting. Yeah, like they didn't really care about wanting to do a story. They just wanted to do epic level fighting. So I'm like, fine. Everybody make a 20th level character. I went 20th level monk, Way of the Open Hand, and I did this ability called Quivering Palm.
Holy crap!
Yes,
I just read it.
Yes. I'm gonna set the stage for you here. So we're in like this. I made it to where we were all just characters in this labyrinth type thing, and it was just like a death match. Like we're just gonna brawl it out, go after each other, yada yada yada. And it got down to like, it wasn't like the end, but it was my super powerful monk against another one of the characters, and he was trying to talk my monk down into being like, hey, let's team up, and then we'll figure out what we're going to do later, and we'll get out of here, yada yada yada. And so I interestingly enough, when you have actual players going against each other, you don't make them make deception and insight checks. They just do it in their own interaction. Which makes it super great, because he said, do we have a deal? And he stuck out his hand, and I said, yeah, and I just shook his hand. And then later on, after he had killed like 2 or more opponents, I did this quivering palm thing to him. So you gain the ability to set up lethal vibrations in someone's body. When you hit a creature with an unarmed strike, you can spend 3 key points to start their imperceptible vibrations, which last for a number of days equal to your monk level. So I was level 20th. These things last for 20 days. The vibrations are harmless unless you use an action to end them. To do so, you and the target must be in the same plane of existence. When you use this action, the creature must make a Constitution saving throw. If it fails, it is reduced to 0 hit points. If it succeeds, it takes 10d10 necrotic damage.
Wow.
And then you can choose to just end them harmlessly. But basically, when I shook that kid's hand in the game, that's when I cast Quivering Palm on him.
That's hilarious.
So later on, we're fighting and everything, and he's like fighting, and he takes a few more people down, and then I'd say, I activate Quivering Palm, and they're like, what? And I said, make a Constitution saving throw. He did not succeed and dropped to 0 hit points in that moment. And then I went over there and like coup de grace him, snapped his neck, and all that good stuff. Because he's not dead at 0 hit points.
Right. Gotta teach those middle schoolers what's up.
Oh yeah, you gotta teach them what's up. But yeah, just the fact that you can just shut someone down, and it doesn't have to be right away.
Right.
You know, if you do this when you first get it at 17th level, that's 17 days where this is just hanging over them, and you may activate it, you may not.
Yeah. You know, that's a really, as a DM, this is a really good way to like initiate something with like level 1 or level 2 characters. Like let them happen, like this happened to them from a very high level monk NPC. Mm-hmm. And then he's like, all right, come back to me in 20 days or you're dead.
Yeah.
And like have him go do something for him, and then, you know, come back and hopefully, you know, he decides to end it.
End it, yeah.
But, yeah.
Yeah, it's really cool. Like, it's a really cool idea to have something like that just looming over a character.
Yeah.
And I know it says when you make an unarmed strike, but I like the idea of just being able to touch someone and do it.
Yeah. Also, it says that you can't perceive it. I think it said that somewhere in there. Like the person can't feel these.
They don't know what's going on.
Right. So, you know, if you do this to a character or like one of your characters as a DM, they totally have the option of being like, Did I take any damage? No. Do I feel
No.
anything? No. Is he
No.
just screwing with me? I don't know.
I don't
Like,
know. Roll an insight check.
20 days pass in the game when they're like, no, that guy's full of crap. And then that person just drops dead.
Yes. But the great thing about that, like, do I feel any different? And you're like, is he messing with me? Roll me an insight check. Whether they roll a nat 1 or a nat 20 or anything in between, you can just say, you can definitely get the feeling that he's serious about this. Because either they think he's full of crap and they don't believe him, or they really believe him. So that's great. I love it.
Yeah.
And then the last way is the way of the sun soul. And this one honestly doesn't seem that awesome to me. It says monks of the way of the sun soul learn to channel their life energy into searing bolts of light. They teach that meditation can unlock the ability to unleash indomitable light shed by the soul of every living creature. So this is sort of like you're a monk of Palor, the sun god. Like you're just doing all of these sun things, and this could be really cool if you coupled this with like a blood hunter and made them like going after, creatures of the night, and light really does hurt them. This could be a cool little thing to use. Because you get like Searing Arc Strike, which is like you cast Burning Hands as a bonus action when you make an attack. Searing Sunburst, which does like 2d6 radiant damage, and then that increases the more ki you dump into it. And then at 17th level, you get this thing called Sun Shield. It says you become wreathed in a luminous magical aura. You shed bright light in a 30-foot radius and dim light for an additional 30 feet. You can extinguish or restore the light as a bonus action. If a creature hits you with a melee attack while this light shines, you can use your reaction to deal radiant damage to the creature. The radiant damage equals 5 plus your wisdom modifier. So if your wisdom is high, that could be pretty good, but still, it's like 20 at the best, or 10,
Right.
So I'm like, this seems okay for flavor reasons, but not like, oh man, I feel like I'm wrecking shop as a sun soul.
Right. Yeah. If you want to play something that's got like a little touch of paladin or like a holy warrior or something, I can see this one kind of appealing to you. But you've got a lot, 11, 12 here, different paths that you can choose from. Sun Soul's at the bottom for me. Like it's
literally and figuratively.
Right. It's at the bottom of the list, and does not keep my interest.
No, that's why I kind of just skimmed through it. I'm like, we've been going for a while with this episode, and that one just does not seem as cool. Especially after you talk about the way of the you do quivering palm, and you're like, oh, and you can be bright.
Yeah.
You too can shine bright like a diamond. So yeah, it just doesn't seem awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but I'm gonna roll a Drunken Master later.
Oh,
I'm so pumped about that.
I love those.
All right. Well, that was a pretty long one. We had a lot of paths to go through, though. So
I was not expecting that much monk stuff. Really, I was like, oh, we're just gonna kind of go through this, and we'll be able to chat about random things. Like, nope, we had a lot of stuff to talk about, actually.
Yeah. And I'm gonna go ahead and pull up our wheel of topics here. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. If you're here with us live, don't forget to like, subscribe. If you're watching this after the fact, do it still. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, you can catch us all over the place. We do this usually every Sunday. We skip Sunday, and we're currently recording this on a Monday because Sunday was Father's Day. But usually you can find us on Sunday and right here, usually at 7:00. And you can be part of the conversation. We take comments in and discuss them. So, and I've got the thing up. Let's see. Nope. Where are we
You
at
talk
here?
about the Patreon?
I have not. Why don't you talk about the Patreon while I get our spinny wheel of death open?
Yeah, absolutely. So the spinny wheel of death, it's not really about death. It's just topics that we cover. If you go to patreon.com/table scraps, we're working on revamping this whole thing because it was focused on one of our shows in particular, but now we're trying to get it to more of a broad Two Beards in general kind of thing. And one of the things that we're hoping to get in here very soon is that if you become a patron of a certain tier, that you could give us a topic that you would like us to discuss. Oh, Duarte says, "Happy late Father's Day, dudes." Thanks, buddy. Appreciate it. One of the things is that you'll give us a topic and it'll immediately come up to the top and we will do an episode on it. We're not going to like make it bigger on the wheel or anything like that, although technically we could make it bigger on the wheel. But if you become that patron at that tier, we'll just do it. We'll cover your topic. And yeah, so really, really consider becoming a patron, guys.
Yes, indeedy. And if you're listening to us on Spotify, give us a rating to help us out. I think we've got a few ratings on there now, and that's pretty exciting.
Yeah, it is.
All right, you ready for the spin?
Let's get it, buddy.
Curse of Strahd.
Ooh, we have a campaign setting.
This should be interesting. We've done races and classes so far, so this will be a nice little...
And it's funny because earlier I mentioned Curse of Strahd.
Yeah.
So yes, just to give you a little heads up of what this is, Curse of Strahd is an adventure module. It is an adventure that Wizards of the Coast put together, specifically Chris Perkins, and I'll talk about Chris Perkins next week on this episode. But this is like a whole storyline that your characters can go through, and it got this great kind of plot that goes along with it, and there's NPCs and different settings and all kinds of things like that. So this is going to require Travis and I to read through this entire adventure to become familiar with it, to be able to discuss it.
Oh boy.
Yes. So, Travis, I know you're not a huge reader, but you got a little homework, buddy.
No, that's fine. I can stick with this kind of stuff.
Oh, yeah. You're going to enjoy this, too. Have you ever looked at this adventure?
No. Mm-mm.
Oh, you're going to love it. Curse of Strahd is so good. And I don't want to get into too much because I'm like, this is all stuff I need to talk about next week. But yeah, I'm excited. This is our first module we're going to be talking about. And I know a lot of people love this one. So I'm going to start telling people, hey, guys, next week we're talking about Curse of Strahd. Really listen, because I know you love it.
Awesome.
Vampires.
Yeah. Thank you guys for hanging out with us. Thank you for listening wherever you're listening. Thank you for supporting us. Go find us on all the other social medias. We're on Instagram, TikTok. We have a Discord server, and Patreon, of course. And I think really that's it. Facebook, but Facebook's for old people. So if you're old, you can go join over there. I'm joking. We're both old. So
yeah.
And that's it. Anything else to add, Trey?
No, just thank you guys for hanging out, and I'm really excited about next week. I was kind of like, okay, monks, that's fine, because I love all D&D things, but now I'm like, ooh, Curse of Strahd. I'm excited.
Yep. I'm gonna pull it up on my iPad on the D&D Beyond and start looking at it.
Yeah.
All right, sir. Until next time, I'm Travis.
I'm Trey.
And we're Two Beards Play. Bye.